Welcome back to another episode of RNT Fitness Radio. As always, a big thanks from both of us for tuning in, listening, and sharing the episodes. Today, I'm joined by one of our long-term clients, Akash Desai, who you may have seen. We posted up his transformation a couple of weeks ago, along with a case study. It was hugely inspirational. A lot of people reached out wanting to know more about his story. They feel like they could relate to him. So today, we brought him on the podcast, and we talked about all sorts of things, ranging from balancing business, family, training, cardio, diet, the whole lot. How transformation has affected his family, the use of visualization, how training's improved him as a business owner, and ultimately how the transformation has changed his whole life. So if you're a client or someone who's at the beginning of their transformation, this is an episode that you're really going to enjoy, and hopefully you can relate to it and take a lot of lessons from what Akash has been through over the last year. And in fact, what he's done over the past 30 years, that's culminated in this peak of his transformation. Enjoy. So let's just give the listeners a bit more of a background on who Akash Desai is.
Alrighty. So I am 38, married to my lovely wife, Samira. We've got one daughter, Aria. Bit of a hectic lifestyle. We've got two businesses that we run, lifestyle property people investment business, and we've got a mortgage business. So pretty hectic lifestyle that we've got going on at the moment. That's me as a synopsis, as a summary, right?
Second kid on the way, right?
Yeah, second kid on the way. Blessed.
Once.
So the second kid's going to be coming in February. The Desai family is expanding.
So things are going to be even more hectic then.
Yeah. But can't wait. Yeah. It's just a natural point in life. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Awesome. So just a little bit of a background from my end is Akash has been a client of mine for over a year now. And a couple of months ago, we did a photo shoot, and it kind of culminated a long journey for Akash, which has lasted for a long, long time, which we're going to go into today. So I thought it'd be great to bring him on today because he's got a very unique journey and a very strong why, which is something I really want to touch on in this episode. And I think it'd be really good to hear first is, how did you get into training, and what was your journey in training up to the point that you started working with RNT? So tell us about what you did before we started working together last summer.
Sure. So, like you said, my training's been going on for quite a while. I'm 38 now. I started training when I was 3, I would say. I've been a big fan of martial arts. Grew up watching martial arts movies from the 80s. So watching people like Stallone, Van Damme, Jackie Chan, and that kind of action hero. And so they really inspired me. So I'd always loved to kind of get into that training. So I did karate when I was 3. Growing up, I tried all different types of martial arts. I didn't really stick to them. That was my only problem. I'd kind of try these things, and then when I didn't really get results or jump that learning curve, I'd probably move again. So did martial arts most of my life. When I was a teenager, still doing martial arts, I did gymnastics as well. So did gymnastics for a while. And then more recently, I've been doing Kung Fu for 10 years. So my philosophy on training is all around kind of martial arts and how can I strengthen that. However, after 38 years of doing this, and I'm looking at some of my friends, they're in a similar boat to me. We hadn't really got the results that I was looking for. So although I'd done all of this exercise, so Kung Fu I'd done for 10 years, almost at a black belt. But if you looked at my physique, you'd think, oh, he's just a standard Indian boy, tubby belly, skinny arms. And I was like, how is this even possible? So by the time I came to RNT, I was a bit frustrated. I did see this as my kind of last chance at it in my own mind. I thought, this is my last push at it, because after this, after 40, no one ever does it. So I was a bit deflated by the time I came to Akash. I knew what I wanted to achieve. I knew exercise size of it. I just didn't know how to kind of make it over that final hurdle.
So you started with martial arts, then you added the layer of gymnastics.
Yeah.
Then you added a layer of kung fu on top of that, so another form of martial arts.
Yeah.
You've done essentially 30 years of martial arts and gymnastics, but you still weren't satisfied with your results. Your physique wasn't where it wanted to be. So when you came to us at RNT, I mean, you obviously had that frustration from, you know, having done a lot of work but not seeing the results from your efforts. But what was like the real why that made you want to seek outside help, or seek help in a less traditional manner than you were used to seeking?
So there's two reasons I saw that. Is firstly, I'm a firm believer of leverage. I think in life you should always hire the best, because you can leverage their knowledge to help you in your journey in whichever area it is, whether it be physical, whether it be mental, whether it be a business coach. I believe talk to the best to try and make that happen. And what it was I saw, so I was almost going to give up, but I saw a post of Akash at RNT where he did a transformation. And I thought, do you know what? Rather than me just keep struggling in the mud, let me go to these guys and see if they can help me in my journey in that, and see if they can get me over that final thing. So I thought, if they can do it for him, why is it any different for me? If someone else can do it, why can't I do it? And that's really when I saw Akash in his post with one of his transformations, I was like, hallelujah. I was like, you know, it was kind of meant to be, you know, I was looking for that kind of thing, and it came across.
Yeah. What, you know, when you were doing all these martial arts, why did you keep going when you weren't seeing results in your, because it sounds like you were still physique driven despite being, despite doing martial arts, right? So your idols, you said, you know, your Arnold, Van Damme, they're all physique driven. So what kept you going all those years? Like, what were you trying to like work around or work on?
So I guess I've never wanted perfection, but I've always wanted to be better. I've got a growth mindset. One of my biggest priorities in life is just be better. No, that's not be the best. That's very different. And it's not necessarily competing with people, but I think if you're put on this earth, you know, and the chances of you being on this earth are like, you know, very, very minuscule. You've got a duty to try and be the best that you can. You know, the body is this unique gift from God. And I know I kept on doing these martial arts because I was like, let me just keep going. But what it was kind of directionless, if that makes sense. And the main things that I didn't have were accountability and a clear sense of direction. So I don't know how to say it. It's like a headless chicken. It still runs around, right? It still wants to get places. You know, you can run very fast, but you need to make sure you're heading in the right direction. So I was always running very hard. I was always working very hard. Working hard was never something new to me. I was always working hard, but it was not in the right direction, is the way I'd say it.
Yeah. So when you started with us, I remember you said you've got your training covered.
Yeah.
I've got the martial arts down. I only need nutrition advice.
Yeah.
So you were still kind of stuck in those ways where, you know, you're only doing martial arts. You weren't really doing any weight training, right? It was all body weight, if I understand correctly, right?
Correct, yeah.
What was like the shift? What was realization when you finally realized, okay, I need to do some weights now? And why do you think weights had such a big impact on you? Because I'd say for about 6 months, while you were dropping some body fat, your physique wasn't really changing, right? And I knew you just needed more muscle, but you were very stuck in those ways of the martial arts. So tell me about the thought process then. What ended up changing for you?
Yeah, so I think going in, firstly, I don't know, you know, people don't like change. You know, if I had to define myself, I'd define myself as a martial artist. Is you know, after being 10 years into that, you think, okay, this is my philosophy, this is how I am. And then you don't, you think you found a place where you belong. And I didn't really want to change that. So that was a stupid thing. It's like coming to, I don't know if you've ever heard that analogy of coming with your glass full. If you come with a glass full, you can't pour any more water or knowledge into it because it's just going to go around the sides. So I thought, this is who I am. It's all about body weight training. And I you know, because I've done reading around that. And I thought, let me do it through that. However, as you rightly said, nothing was changing. And I was like, hang on a minute, nothing's changing here. And one thing I'll say, and I'll talk about it later, is being self-aware is one of the most important keys to have in trying to get places, whether it be in physical transformation on your life. So at that point, I was like, hang on a minute. I reflected and said, I'm not getting where I want. You gave me some nice little nudges. And I was like, maybe I should shut the frag up, listen to what he says, and see what happens. So I thought, do you know what? Stop trying to... I thought I knew it all from a martial arts training. And when I realized, I thought, do you know what? Put all of that aside. It was really hard to do, actually, because when you've learned all that, you think, okay, try that, do this. When I put all of that aside and I started really embracing the weights, I think things really, really, really started to change. And I guess it's a perception, right? I didn't want to be, at that time, I thought I associated weights with, meatheads who just kind of do weights and they get big. And that's not necessarily what I wanted to do. But that was a wrong perception as well. Mm. That was a wrong perception. Weights was a necessary part of the requirement. But yeah, once I let it all go, completely embraced it, I thought, do you know what? I'm paying these guys. Yeah. Why am I hindering my own progress by trying to say I know better? And when I let it go and started getting into the weights, really started enjoying it and really, really started seeing the differences as well.
So basically your message is go all in and listen to your coach and embrace the process, right?
Massively. And I think there's a lot of people who will resonate with me, and I've met other people who are on the program who have come from training their whole life. And the thing they need to realize when they come to RNT is the reason you're coming to RNT is because you've been training your whole life, you haven't got the results. If you bring that with you to RNT, you're going to continue not to get the results. If you come to RNT, you really have to leave everything that you think you know at the door. I learned it through the hard way. Yeah. I wasted 4 months. So yeah, definitely come with your mind open.
You touched on self-awareness there. Do you want to expand on that? What you mean by that?
Yeah, so
I know you talked about it from a weight training perspective. Well, what do you mean in general with life? I know we're taking on a bit of a tangent here, but you want to expand that a little bit?
I think whatever you're trying to achieve in life, so let's take a step back. The biggest relationship I believe you ever have in your life is a relationship with yourself. And the more you understand yourself, what motivates you, what you're good at, what you're bad at, the better you can navigate life and the challenges that it throws at you. So when it came to this transformation and working at RNT, I had to be aware of where I was, what I was good at, what I was bad at. So let me give you an example, and I don't know if we're going to touch on this later, is I know that I'm motivated by big goals. I know that I'm going to make massive leaps and bounds if I set myself a target. There's a saying which is aim for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land in the stars. So one of the things I did, being self-aware, is we set ourselves a photo shoot. Yeah, we set it on pretty early on. It was, we gave ourselves more than enough time. But by being aware and saying, I know big goals help me progress, I set a photo shoot. And that really, really helped. Another one, we will talk about a bit more, is if you, for example, if you're, say, an evening person, because I know we're going to talk about other elements of this. If you know you're an evening person, don't train in the morning, train in the evening. Give yourself the best chance to succeed. If you know that you're not very good at meal prepping, then you need to make sure you prep all your meals on Sunday, because you're not very good at it. You know that you're likely to eat those biscuits. And again, I'm talking from my own experience, is if that's the case and you know what you're like, use that knowledge of yourself in the benefit of your progression and say, well, I know I'm not very good at meal prepping. Now I need to make sure 100% on Sundays I do this, because if I do that, I've got rid of decision fatigue and the food's ready. But just know yourself, know what you're good at, know what you're bad at. The things that you're bad at, trick yourself, like me, for example, which is, set the goals. And the things that you're good at, use these to your advantages. So I think that's I don't know if I went on too much for that, but hopefully that gives you some of it.
Decision fatigue then?
Yeah, I am. I try to plan out as much as possible everything that I've got going on. And, I can see the results of, so if I look at myself now, I didn't have that goal, so I'm not as motivated. So I don't always prep as much. And then because of that, I can see that I slip a lot more than I did back in those phases where I used to prep for 3-4 days. So I've seen both sides of it, prepping everything so there's no decision fatigue, and what the likely outcomes are. You've basically pushed yourself for success. And when you don't do that, what happens? It's like, you smash out a few biscuits because you didn't prep. And that's the realities of it.
Yeah, I really do believe in it. And I think the less decisions you create for yourself, the easier it is to stick to anything. And in the context of this, if we can limit the decisions you make with your diet, it's going to be so much easier to come, when it comes to, say, that evening meal, or when it comes to those, box of biscuits. If you've already got things prepped, your willpower is going to be stronger because you've got more kind of resources available to conquer it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's theories which say willpower's finite. So in the day, you've got a tank, right?
Yeah.
And depending on what things come your way, and look, we're all busy people, everyone is, you'll face a challenge. Even if you're trying to get a train, you're using willpower, it'll go down. By the end of the day, when your willpower's smallest, you're most likely to fall. So these are the times where you need to make sure you've kind of prepped and got everything ready the most.
Yeah, 100%. You touched on being an evening person. You're a morning person, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So what was your morning routine when you're, say, prepping for a photo shoot, or even just now when you're trying to be healthy but still balance everything else you've got going on in your life?
So it goes back to that self-awareness. Is I know working in my business or having a family with my wife and my daughter, that during my day's written off. Come 6-7 o'clock, I'm brain dead, and I can't really achieve anything. So knowing that, I've really got the morning to get stuff done in. Now, when I first started, what I did was I thought I'll go gym when I've got time, which is the complete wrong thing to do, because there's always going to be another priority that can come in your way, and you've left it to chance to make it happen. So what I did is I read a book called The Miracle Morning, and I'd recommend that to people. I'm not sure. I'll find out.
We can link it afterwards, yeah.
Yeah. So I read that book, and it's all about how you use the morning to your advantage. So what I started doing is I thought, hang on a minute. If I go to the gym in the morning, if I get my lifts and my steps done, so all of my steps, not part of them, if I get all of my steps done, then it doesn't matter what I do in the day or what comes in my way, I would have got the work done. So I started adopting this methodology. So when I first started, I started at 5 in the morning. So what that meant was I'd wake up at 5, I'd literally just have a coffee, take a Himbine if that's what I was on, and jump on the treadmill for whatever the allotted time was. I'd then walk to the gym. So I used to be at David Lloyd, which was costing me £140, and used to be 25 minutes from my house. Got rid of David Lloyd and started at the gym in Watford, which was 42 minutes from my house, and £17. So win-win in this, right? Less money, more steps. So I walked to the gym, which was 42 minutes, which was about 4,000 steps, worked out, and then walked back home. So what that meant was by the time I got home, I'd had 15,000 steps in the bag, my list done, and my gym work done. So I'd be back home about 8 o'clock. And what that meant was all of my work is done in terms of the gym work, and I could get on with my day. More recently, what I've done is I've actually moved up to 4 o'clock in the morning. The reason I've done that is because my daughter Aria, Samira's been dropping her for all of the time while I've been prepping for this photo shoot. And I think, she's really helped me out, but it's my time to kind of make sure I still pull my weight on that. So I drop her. So I do all my work in the morning, drop Aria to nursery, and then I crack on with my day.
Yeah. And you work from home predominantly, right?
Yeah, predominantly, correct, yeah.
Someone who works from home, but still needs to stay. I mean, you've kind of said what you do, but what tips would you give people that, work at home, they're tempted by things all the time. They might not be as active. They get distracted. What kind of tips do you do to stay not only productive, but adopt that healthy mindset throughout the day?
I think one thing that's really helped is the use of like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch. What that does, it gives you reminders that, you've been sedentary, you've been sitting down for a certain time. Yeah. Yeah. So it says like, you've been sitting down, time to get up. So that helps. Another thing that helps on that is your step goal, which I think RNT give you anyway. But when you've got it on your watch or your phone, whichever one it is, you've got something to work for. I'm a big believer in having goals and using that to your advantage. So when you've got steps, you're like, okay, how can I do steps? So when I'm at home, if I've got calls, I walk around in the garden or I pace. Yeah. So I'd put my headphones on and I'll just walk while I'm talking. So that's a good way to kind of stay active. My secret weapon during my training was my treadmill. So I use that anytime. I use that in the morning. I use it at lunchtime. I can use it in the evening. If I know I haven't got steps in or, we've got certain targets to meet, a treadmill at home is a real big thing that I use. I think those are the kind of main things. And obviously, if you're tempted at home, don't keep snacks, which is one of the big things, that I learned from Akash. It's a bit harder when your wife's pregnant and she's got chocolate biscuits there. But, so the other thing I did to stop myself tempting is I prep my shakes as well. So the night before, I prep my 2 shakes and obviously my meals, which means when I'm working, all I've got to do is go grab my shake out of the fridge. Before, I think I learned that from Shiv, my business partner. Before, I used to make it when I needed it. Then I used to make it in the morning. Now I make it the night before. Now it's not as fresh as it is when you kind of make it in the blender, but that's perfect. So I just go to the fridge, pick it up, drink it when I need it, grab my food when I need it. It just goes down to decision fatigue, right? Prep everything, leave nothing to chance.
Perfect. Yeah, making less decisions, making it easier for yourself to stick to the plan, essentially, right?
That's it, 100%. And again, if you can get it out first thing, and I know it's not always possible for everyone, then it doesn't matter what happens in your day. A lot of people say, do you know what, this happened to me today? But, we know that's going to happen. How can you eliminate the chance of that happening altogether?
So you've touched on how you essentially kind of managed, all your training. But how did you balance? So how you got family, you've got 2 businesses.
Yeah,
you've got to do your training. You've got to make sure you're staying on point, with your diet through not only with family but social occasions, everything. How did you balance all of that and still get the transformation you did?
I think the way to do that.
A lot of clients and a lot of people say, they haven't got time, or they've got a family, or they've got businesses to run. They just haven't got the bandwidth for it. But what do you say to people like that? Because you've lived through it, right? And you're not the exception either. We've seen it with a lot of people that come to us in RNT. But give us your story and what you think is the reason how you managed to balance everything.
I think the reason I managed to balance it is because it was one of my highest priorities. When you align yourself to what your highest priority is, you're more likely to achieve it. There's a lot of people who think they want something, but then if a lot of other things are getting in the way, I would go back to them and say, is that really what you want? So for example, I had someone who came to me and said, look, I really want to improve my health. How do I get started? And the first thing I said to them is this really the most important thing to you in your life? And we went through everything. I said, because if it's not the most important thing or one of the highest things, you're not likely to achieve it. So the reason I was able to achieve mine and maintain balance is because I had health as my highest priority in life, which is, helps from one of our friends' courses. And when I aligned to that...
We've actually had me on the podcast, so they'll be aware of what helps are.
Yeah. So it's about aligning...
Sorry,
exactly. So I think it's about aligning your health. So I think training is great. But if you're not aligned, if health is not aligned to your priorities, I don't think you're going to succeed. So if you want to train, but health is not up there, you've got other things, you need to find a way to try and reprioritize that. And there's ways to do that by working with Manmeet to make sure that health is one of your highest. As soon as you have one of your highest, then you're more likely to achieve it. And that's why I firmly believe that I achieved it with my balance, is because I had health. Now, Go on.
You go.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, look, the realities are there are going to be things that take a hit. You know, Samir and my wife supported. It was a case of, you know, you do manage to have optimum balance. But what you do is you do hit your highest priority that you're working towards because you stated it as your highest priority. A lot of people say to me, I want to lose weight while they're sitting there with a biscuit in their mouth on the couch watching TV. And I'm like, well, your actions are not congruent to what you want to achieve. So it's about matching that. I think once you match that, you're more likely to achieve it.
These biscuits are recurring themes, aren't they?
Yeah. I've got a lot of them in my house.
So you touched on reprioritizing. How would someone who say has got health in fourth or fifth in their priority, how they reprioritize it when they've also got a family that's extremely important to them, a business that's extremely important to them? They all require a lot of effort and time and mental space, but they also want to get that transformation. So what do they need to do to reprioritize?
So there's two things that you could do. Is there's always going to be things that come in your way. The first thing that Manmeet would say on her course is I would sit down and say, how is health? And I'd write, say, 15, 20 ways. How is improving my health going to positively benefit my family life? Then I'd write the same thing. How is health positively going to affect my business? How is health going to positively affect my relationships? Once you understand how health, for me, I think health is the center of everything. Once you understand that, then you'll see that health can help you with these other priorities. And once you understand that, then you'll think, okay, let me put this time into health because it is going to help me with these other things.
Yeah. So even though you had it as your number one priority, okay, so it's your number one priority, you've managed to balance everything. You must have still had some struggles and obstacles during a transformation, right? I mean, I coach you, so I know of some of them, but what were your biggest struggles and obstacles during the transformation period, especially, say, in the last 6 to 8 weeks where things got really tough?
Oh, okay. So one of them was, I think when you're on, I don't know if it is the low carbs, but I was getting a lot more stressed out. Like, so I'd be on the treadmill and I'd be like just working myself up into a state, and because I'd just be getting vexed is what would be happening. That was one of my biggest struggles, and I was getting so pissed off. And it's about, again, if you understand yourself there, and I've got a life coach as well, and they say, don't ruminate, don't just sit there thinking about stuff. That was one of my biggest challenges. Just getting really, really pissed off when there's the low carb. The other thing was kind of snacking and stuff.
That was your big one, right?
Yeah, I think snacking on stuff and just, like maybe eating a biscuit and stuff like that. And again, the way I got through that was some really good, again, everything is about how you frame it for yourself. So the way I got through that was, you gave me a great line, which is think of hunger as your body losing fat. So every time I was feeling hungry, I'd be like, first I'd drink water anyway, or I'd listen to some of the tips that you and Adam gave, was I'd see that as a positive. I'd be like, hang on, things are working for me, rather than, shit, I need to go and eat something. So I think finding a challenge and reframing it is absolutely massive in your transformation. So anything that happens, think about it. And the other thing I did is I wrote, feel your gut before you reach for that nut. I wrote that on my hand because when I was snacking, I needed some sort of physical stimulus or visual stimulus to stop me from doing that. So before I grabbed something, I saw it in my hand, I grabbed my belly and I was like, hang on a minute, this isn't where I want to be. And I stopped. So again, tricking your mind with whatever challenge you're facing. So rather than just be one challenge, I know everyone's got different challenges. What is your challenge? What is your why? Connect it up and see how you can stop yourself from doing it. It might be writing a little note on your hand. It might be having a picture of who you want to look like. I had that on my phone. I had, who was that guy that I had on my phone for 8 months?
Yeah, one of my old clients, Stepan.
Yeah, that guy was amazing. But having him on my phone, I was like, if I eat this, I'm not going to look like this guy. And you just reverse engineer that, reframe it, and you kind of stop yourself from doing it. It doesn't work all the time. Sometimes I think, but it definitely does. If you can think twice before you act, that's massive.
And I think this is good because it shows that you're human. A lot of people will be able to resonate with this, right? Because they see the fitness guys do it and they think, okay, these guys are robots. It's easy for them, right? But hearing it from you, they see, that everyday people have exactly the same struggles that they're having. They still got the same busy lives, but they're still pushing through and going after the goals that they've set themselves, right?
Yeah, 100%. And just going back to what we discussed is having a routine for your day, for your exercise, for your food is the biggest thing that's going to help you succeed by far. If I put it down to one thing, apart from obviously the coaching, the accountability, it would be the routine that we put in place in terms of getting it done in the morning. It just meant that the balance was there, because once I've got my exercise done, then I've got my business day, and then I've got my family time, and I don't need to interfere with the exercise part after that, which is a problem that I think a lot of people face. Is they come home and go, I'm tired. I don't really want to go gym. I don't want to cook. Well, you understand that that's where you are, and then just prep for it in advance.
Having sections of your day.
Exactly.
Training or health, then business, and then family. And because you've created such boundaries or between them,
yeah,
interchange easily and not bring one to another, right?
Protect your time.
Yeah.
Protect your time. Protect it in that way.
I'm doing a moment for just for business as well. Like every night I'll plot out the next day exactly what I'm doing when. So that way when I start the day, it's just a matter of looking at it and thinking, okay, I've got to do this now, and then
exactly.
Go to the next thing, But not overwhelming it, just creating real simple blocks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing is, I think a lot of people miss is just time for you. And sometimes we see that if you're in a family unit, you're worried that other people see that as selfish. But when you're training, you're doing this, even if it's 20 minutes, either doing meditation, reading a book, going for a walk, whatever it is, don't forget to have time for yourself. I see a lot of people neglect that and say, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. But without that time for yourself, what's going to happen is, I don't know, your stress gauge is going to build up for whatever it is. So just make sure you have time for yourself doing whatever it is, even if it's 15, 20 minutes or do that for yourself. I see a lot of people just, they're just not giving themselves the love they deserve. Remember, the biggest relationship is you. Work on you. So exercise is one part, but mentally, you need to have that mental mind frame to work on it.
That's a great point. That's really good. What do you do for your me time?
So ironically, my me time is the gym. So yeah, that's true as well. But for me, so I wrote this in my notes, was everyone has a stress gauge, right? And we talked about it earlier. But everyone needs a way to release that stress gauge. So for me, going to the gym is my meditation. Going to the gym is my way of being one with the universe. When I go to the gym, all the worries of the world go away. I don't think about anything. And that gauge just pounds down. The endorphins are released at the end of the session and I'm feeling good and I'm ready to attack the day. It's my reset button. And I need to hit my reset button almost every single day. If it doesn't, things pile up and then, you end up switching and you do stuff like that. So everyone has a different one. If exercise is one for you, that's great. If reading is one for you, if playing with your kids is one for you, that's great. Because you can frame it however you want. But just remember, be good to yourself, love yourself.
Yeah. You touched on your kids there. How has the transformation affected your family?
So there's two parts of that one. Yeah. I think firstly, my wife took it. I think it was slightly harder on my wife who's pregnant because she took on a lot more responsibility for our daughter. So I think, she took it from that perspective because, I'd be like, tomorrow's an on day, so I can't wake up, And I'd look forward to that, right? Like tomorrow's a big day for me. And like, what are you talking about? It's leg day. And then we're like, okay, I wouldn't describe it like that. But for me, it is. I'm like, tomorrow's a big day because I look forward to these sessions, right? So she had that. But from the other side, I've definitely leveled up physically, which means I can do a lot more stuff with my daughter physically. And the way I interact with the world and my family is physically. So me and my daughter go kung fu together now, and we go gymnastics together. So my bond with her is created on that kind of physical ground. So I've kind of leveled up. I can do what I want her to do. I can lead by example. That's massive. I've got the energy throughout the day to kind of interact with people in my family. And I think I've inspired a lot of people now. A lot of people have reached out to me, family, being like, oh my God, it's amazing what you've achieved. And inspired them to do it. One of my friends' group that I literally grew up from school, they created a group called Get Hench Like Axe.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And they're like, oh, we want you to join this. And basically, they're all 38 like me. And they said, do you know what? We'd given up on our bodies, right? We thought this is it for us. We'd always be like you. We'd always been kind of training sporadically, but we'd never achieved the goals that we wanted. However, seeing you has really inspired us. And they went at it. So it's really nice to see that you can inspire other people. And that was one of my my goals in life. My goals in life is not necessarily to directly help other people. And I know that sounds a bit selfish. My goal in life is every day improve myself, and through my improvement, inspire other people. And that's exactly what happened.
Essentially creating that domino effect, right? Around in the inner circles around you.
Yeah, exactly. And then people see it and they're like, oh, maybe people have this natural instinct to be like, oh yeah, maybe I should be doing this, or justifying why they aren't doing it. And I'm like, you do whatever you want to do. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. If you want to do it, great. I can, and if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But they see you and they feel like, oh, okay, if he can do it, we can do it. And I love that, because there's nothing special about me. I'm not smarter. I'm not stronger. I'm not wiser. The only thing I am is self-aware. I know myself. I know what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. And I got accountability and guidance. And this is what I firmly believe. And they say that about Steve Jobs. Is Steve Jobs thought of other people. They go, if you've got 2 arms, 2 legs and a brain, you can achieve what someone else has achieved. Don't think you can't.
That's a great point. So speaking of Steve Jobs, it's a good little segue. How has training improved you as like an entrepreneur and a business owner? What impact has it had on that area of your life?
So I think being the best version of yourself physically opens up your mind mentally to say you can do anything. Once you've opened that door, I think physical transformation is one of the easiest things you can do. The reason why I say that is because you've got visual stimulus to show that you've changed. You've got muscle. You're literally evolving day to day. Whereas in business, there's some things you can't tangibly see. In relationships, you can't tangibly see necessarily. But once you've achieved a better version of yourself physically, you think, hang on a minute, I can do this in all aspects of my life. And what it means is you go and attack business. So in business, I'm like, everything is doable. So what it did is it opened my mind to say, I can do anything I put my mind to. And before I kind of believed it, now I 100% believe it. If I can do this at 38, there's nothing I can't do. I'm the only limiter in what I want to achieve. So in business, it means that I go out and I absolutely smash it, and I have a completely can-do mentality. But also it gives me the stamina to attack business. If you look at a lot of people, if you look a few generations back, they sacrificed their health for wealth. And in later life, they try to buy their health back, but by that time it's too late. Like my dad, for example, he was very unhealthy. Now his highest priority was education. So because his was education, health was not up there. So he used to eat badly. He used to smoke. He didn't really drink, but he used to eat excessively, to the point where when he passed away, he had diabetes, 2 heart attacks and 3 strokes or something. And I was like, I never want to be like that. So having my health as the foundation means, I can absolutely smash business. And, if I do really, really well, I'll be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor because I'm healthy.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it transcends.
No, I mean, for me, it's very similar in that, competing in bodybuilding especially, and taking my body to the extreme has given me a lot of lessons that I've taken over into business as well. I mean, a lot of it's just the structure that you have in your day, which, you need for a physical transformation, you need structure, right?
Yeah.
And for business, you need structure as well. So that's been a big one. And then obviously discipline. But like you said, it's also the fact that if you can push yourself super hard physically, and physical is the easiest one to do, then it carries over to every aspect of your life, right? So mentally, with your work, with your relationships, your finances. So I think it really does have that holistic effect across everything in your life.
Yeah, I think you touched on it earlier, and I know you're a believer. Is physical transformation for me is not a physical transformation. It's a mind. Everything comes from the mind.
Yeah.
And you know, the people see like a bodybuilder, and they'll be like, "Oh, look at that meathead! You know, he just lifts weights." And do you know what I see? I'm like, what kind of disciplined mind must that guy have to create a body like that? And a completely different perception, because a person who's made it physically, who's got to a good point physically rather, is someone who's conquered their mind, which is the most biggest thing, and they've got the discipline to get to that point. And if you've got that discipline, it transcends into a lot of things. You see a lot of people who are who kind of got a physical gift. It translates when they go into business as well, because they've got the hard work ethic. You know, I know they don't have the business acumen, but they've got the work ethic for one. They've got the structure, and like you said, and if you get that right, there's a lot of people who can do well as well in business.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and even some of the best businessmen that we they all place health as an important part of their day. You know, you look at Richard Branson, for example. He started playing tennis, and you know, there's countless of examples of successful entrepreneurs and business owners who place sport and training as a vital part of their day that they need in order to function at their optimum.
Yeah, I honest truth is, I do not think I would be here. My business would not be as good. My relationships would not be as good if I wasn't here in this health space, by far.
So let's switch tangents. Let's switch subjects a bit and talk about visualization, because I know you're a huge fan of this, right?
Yeah.
A little bit earlier by having the picture of my old client on your phone.
Yeah.
It's about how you use it, because I know you use it quite powerfully, and it's helped you a lot through your transformation. And not only visualization, but any mindset techniques that you've used to help you achieve the goals you've set yourself, both physically and in business and in life overall.
Yeah, I think before you want to get anywhere, you need to see or define what that there is. So physically having that picture of Sepand was really, really important to me. And I believe in manifestation, which is you can create things from the universe, but you can only create things that you know about. Too many people, I think, go through life and they don't really know what they want. And then they're like, oh, why am I not healthy? It's because you haven't had a goal or a visualization to kind of strive for. So during this whole process, I was like, what do I want to look like? How do I want to feel? That's an emotional state as well, but you can visualize that. So throughout this process, I had a very, very clear picture, and I had a picture of Hrithik Roshan as well. So
if you don't know, that's a Bollywood actor.
Yeah, he's a Bollywood actor. He's an Indian guy who's very, very physically fit, who changed the perception for a lot of Indian people who thought they couldn't get ripped like other cultures could. So I had these two people as my inspiration, and looking at them every day, I was like, this is how I want my body to look. And do you know what? It's crazy because, the people who look different, right? There's people who have wider shoulders, some have slimmer waist. If I come out and I look at the picture of Sepand, this is obviously subjective. Although I wasn't as muscular as Sepand by the time I came to photo shoot, I feel like I was very, very similar in look. Even the way the abs looked were very, very similar. Now, people could say, okay, that's per chance, right? But I'm a believer of that's what I visualized myself to become. Because I looked at that every single day, that's what I became. So I would say to anyone who's out there listening to this podcast, what do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? Really, really think about that. And I think you could achieve that. There was a study done in, I think it was the NBA actually, where they took a basketball team and they split it up into two sections, and they had 50% of them just shoot hoops for, 10 hours. And then the other 50%, they had them shoot hoops for 5 hours. And for 5 hours, they had them visualize the ball going into the hoop, them shooting and going into the hoop. The people who visualize Who do you think ended up, when they, at the end of the test, did a test to see how many hoops they could make? Who do you think did more?
The visualization group.
Yeah, the visualization group. Because if you visualize it, you're literally manifesting it into reality. I thought that was a powerful study. So, yeah, I think visualize. And the other part was, if I look at the more holistic approaches, I went to Tony Robbins. I talked about this in the video. And I'm quite visual. If I close my eyes, I can see a lot, and I can kind of create a world. And they said, visualize yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How do you look? How do you feel? Where are you? What do you drive? Who are you with? And this, I think it was about 2 to 3 years ago, I was at Tony Robbins. And I literally remember it now. I closed eyes. I was driving home on the road. It was nighttime. I was driving past the avenue. I was driving my car. I got home, and this is when I was looking, a bit chubby, when I was not where I wanted to be. You go into your house, you go up to your mirror, and when I looked into this mirror, I saw the best version of myself. And I saw this 2-3 years ago, and this was nuts, because when I did my photo shoot, that was the face that I saw. And it's absolutely crazy to think that that's what I visualized, and that's what I've now become. But if you're not very good at visualizing, I would say start working at it. Start working at visualizing. It's a skill like anything else. You can become good at it.
Yeah, it's used a lot in sport, but I think it's underlooked in other areas of your life, right?
100%.
Yeah. So let's talk about your own transformation, and let's say how, I know we've talked about all the different domains, but what about yourself? You've spent 30 years coming to this point, and then you achieve it.
Yeah.
How did it make you feel? How did it change your life? Yeah, tell us.
It was a bit of I was in two mind states. So firstly, I was happy beyond belief, because I was like, the day we did the photo shoot, I can honestly say, and it sounds a bit drama queen-fied, but it was one of the best days of my life. I went there, my mind frame was just like, what, you've worked your bollocks off, you're now here, enjoy it. And I really did enjoy that day. I loved every single minute of it. And I just really soaked it in, because life's about experiences. It's not about physical wealth and stuff like that. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I was like, I've come to a point where I can say to myself, I'm proud of what I've achieved. Previously, physically, I didn't think I'd come to a point where I was really happy. So that day and that landmark, to mark it with a photo shoot, was absolutely incredible. Like I said, one of the best days of my life. But then I've always had a vision of what I wanted in the future. And I was like, I'm not there yet. I've built a fantastic foundation. Now I need to work and start building on getting to where I want to get to. If I can do this, there's no reason I can't get to where I've always wanted to get to.
So what is that? What's the next goal then?
So my goal has always, since I was a kid, was to make martial arts movies, and choreograph fight scenes, and be like and do fight scenes. Not necessarily, it would be great to kind of do Bollywood, but and Hollywood. But even if it's not for them, for me, the way I want to express myself is through martial arts and choreographing it through video. So for me, what I want to do now is I want to stabilize what I've achieved through RNT. I want to keep that as a foundation, because it's definitely strengthened my martial arts. But I do want to go back to my martial arts and strengthen that. So I want to improve my flexibility. I want to be able to get to front splits and side splits. I want to be able to do gymnastic skills, so stuff like L-sit, pancake, handstand. Once I've started getting all of these together, that's gonna again help me with my martial arts. So then I want to get to my black belt. Through that, I want to be able to strengthen my gymnastics again. So these are all layers working up. When I get to that point, I want to do back flip, front flip, side flip. And then it all comes back to, once I've got these skills, is I want to put them down on video and express myself through my martial arts. That's the end goal.
What time frame have you given yourself?
I haven't. I need to put that. You're right. I need to put that down in a plan.
To visualize.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. You're right. I have to put that in a plan. I mean, I wrote down what my next stage is. And I've always been choreographing fight scenes. So I did one with, you might have heard of Abid Musa from Musa Martial Arts. We did one about 5-6 years ago. And that was quite good, but it's a good way to get started. So I think there's nothing stopping me right now to start getting that going.
You've also done parkour videos, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I did parkour that was about 8 years ago. The BBC approached me and they were doing a documentary on it. And they said, "Oh, will you help out?" So yeah, we did a video on parkour.
Awesome. Just to wrap up, what would you say to a client who's or anyone who's starting their transformation journey and is looking for some good advice? What would you say to them from your perspective, who's been through the journey, you've made all the mistakes, you know, you balanced everything together? What would you say to them? Give them your number one tip.
I'd say don't overthink it. I think a lot of people come and they say, "Oh, you know, how much do you train? What do you eat? You know, what are your macros?" And they're going to all this level. You know what? I don't know half of this stuff now, and the reason I don't know is because I don't need to know. Is what I'd say is just don't overthink it. You know, sign up to RNT, read all the literature beginning to end. Make sure you do that because there's some good guides. Read the blogs and listen to what they say. I think it really is that simple. I think a lot of people come to me and they're like, "Oh, how did you do this? How did you do that?" Some of those questions I can't even answer because I didn't need to know. So, you know, just go to these guys, listen to what they have, you know, give the updates on time, stick to what they say, and you'll see results, and have faith.
Awesome. Plenty of advice there. And is there anything you want to plug or on your own end? Anywhere people can find you, find out more about you, or you're good?
Yeah. So I've got Business Warrior, which talks about my philosophy on balance, which is around health, mindset, and business. And obviously we've got a mortgage business. So if anyone's looking for a mortgage, holler at your boy.
And that's in London, right?
That's in London, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Right, this has been great. What we've actually got for Akash, we've also got a case study that I've written up on his transformation, where you'll not only see the pictures, but you'll see a lot of what we talked about today in writing. And there's also a video testimonial there, so which is really powerful, probably one of the best ones I've seen. So definitely check those out. I'll put those in the show notes. But otherwise, yeah, if you enjoyed today's episode and you know anyone who's gonna benefit from Akash's words and advice today, please share it with them. For more episodes, subscribe to RNT Fitness Radio and follow along. To learn more about what we're doing, hit us up on www.rntfitness.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Akash Fagela, at Adam Haley 1, and at RNT_fitness. Thanks for listening.